Well,
Go ahead, Scott.
Thank you, Chris. As a teacher, one of the things that is my privilege is to share horror stories. So I have two to share with you today. Some of you may remember Fireman's Fund Insurance Company in Allstate and the issue with Paul Cauldron. It seems Paul had been a little troubled. He brought a gun to work while he was at Allstate Insurance, and it was seen, it was reported, and there was a disciplinary action which led to his leaving Allstate. He wasn't fired. He was allowed to resign. Now, they also gave him, as a going-away present, some severance and also a letter of recommendation for his excellent work. Paul later went to Fireman's Fund, who took that letter of recommendation on face value and hired him. He worked there for about 2 years and was let go due to behavioral problems. And about a year after that, Paul came back loaded with weapons and killed 3 former coworkers or supervisors and also injured a couple. The lawsuit that was brought by the survivors of this, the family members who lost their loved one, said that both Fireman's Fund and Allstate were negligent in the case. Allstate for issuing an improper recommendation and Fireman's Fund for not doing a thorough background search. It's an interesting case. You can Google it and find out more information. Then there was, a few years ago, George O'Leary, who's actually come back as a successful coach. He had been hired as a football coach from Notre Dame, who evidently forgot or neglected to do the background check. And in George O'Leary's case, he kind of didn't tell them all the truth. He included some information on his academic credentials, which in fact he didn't have, and on his professional credentials, which was untrue. And as you know the prominence of Notre Dame's football program, you can imagine that when a background check is run or not run, and he's introduced, the reporters are going to run their own background checks, and very quickly, after he was introduced as their head coach, he resigned with regret over the unfortunate misinformation which was given. My point is that some people do not tell all of the truth. Some people omit information, and some people outright lie on their resumes. So we have to be very careful when doing the background checks, especially when you can do them very quickly and very inexpensively to run the proper background checks on individuals. Chris, if you could turn to the next slide. On Career Builder, there's information that they presented on a survey that they ran a year or so ago. It said 38% of those surveys indicated they had embellished their job responsibilities. Now, I don't know how you define embellished, but that might be lying. 18% admitted to lying about their skill sets. 12% indicated they'd been dishonest about their start and end dates of employment. Now, the start date I don't quite understand, but the end date would seem to be that maybe that was because they were let go and they wanted to indicate that they were still working for the company. 10% confessed to lying about an academic degree like Jim was referring to. That was interesting. Jimmy lied not just about one, but about 2. 7% had lied about the companies they worked for, and 5% disclosed that they were untruthful about their job titles. And this just gives me food for thought when I work with students on the fact that we need to go ahead and run our background checks, even though it's a cost to the company. You can imagine the size of these settlements in the Allstate case with Paul Cauldron and Fireman's Fund. We're talking in the millions of dollars. So run the background checks. It's cheap by comparison. And I'll turn it over to you, Chris.
Okay,